Well, Rhonda G. Williams,
Yes.
author of The Naming of Girl.
Yes.
I'm so glad to be here with you.
I'm glad you're here.
So I'm Starr, the publisher of Upper Hand Press, whose great joy it was to publish your book. And we're here in Fayetteville, Arkansas, at Nightbird Books, which kindly hosted this rip-roaring success of a launch of its book. It was great to hear you read your enticing segment from the famous trip to Woolworths with Girl. And now I'm going to take advantage of being here and get to ask you some of the questions that I've had about you and about the book. You have told me that you are saturated in Southern Gothic and that you love all things Southern Gothic. So here we are in the South.
No,
and here's my chance to find out what this is all about. What do you mean when you say that you love the Southern Gothic, and what do you identify for us as the Southern Gothic aspects of The Naming of Girl?
Yeah, Southern Gothic is, you know, the first author that kind of jumps to mind in this genre is William Faulkner. You know, it sort of had its roots in Gothic literature, which, you know, has to do with the supernatural and you know, Frankenstein, Dracula, that sort of thing. But Southern Gothic, of course, is set in the South, and you know, there is this whole idea of these characters are damaged in some way, and there is some grittiness and, you know, some darkness, but oftentimes there is humor in this, kind of a dark humor, which is something I've always liked. But yeah, it's this whole idea of the grotesque and the characters being damaged, and it sort of holds up these social failings, if you will, to light. And so that's kind of, you know, where I like to go with my books. Now there is nothing supernatural in it, but, you know, it's yeah.
Right. So through the character of Girl, we see the dark side of the environment.
Yeah. And, you know, Chuck is a prime example. He's damaged. I mean, you know, he's this idea of the grotesque. You know, you know, with Antonio, he's mentally handicapped. You know, and there's all this idea of either physically or emotionally or spiritually damaged in characters, and I think pretty much all of mine are a little damaged.
This is true.
Yes.
It's a very dark cast.
Yes.
So then, do you think that those elements of those darknesses and the damages, do they exaggerate the characters or make the story less true to life?
No, I don't think so, because I've encountered people like that. I have, you know, there are those that live in these rural places who are very damaged, who are very dark, and they're almost a caricature of themselves. But no, I think it does, even though they're kind of out there, I do think they are realistic, and I think you could probably find them in any kind of small southern rural town you go to. Maybe not even southern.
It's not only southern, I think. Who or what inspired this story? The characters that you've drawn in Girl and Chuck and Antonio and Betty, they are so vivid. They just run away with the book. The characters are amazing. The action is amazing. How did you think this up? Where did Girl come from?
I don't know. No, I don't know really. I like, when I read, I really pay a lot of attention to characters. For me, a good book is all about characterization, and so that's kind of where I like to start with when I'm writing, is with these characters, and then okay, what would these characters do? Because my characters become very real to me, and you know, they talk to me. I know it's kind of creepy, but your voice is. I, you know, I think they're, writers are often told, write what you know, but I think it's more write what you like. And so if I'm coming at this from what do I like to read, I like these very vividly drawn characters that just, I feel like I can meet them on the street somewhere. And, I suppose they evolve because I kind of think up a type, and then as we're going along, they're evolving constantly until they get, to where I feel like, okay, you're grown.
Right.
So let's go.
Now, you studied playwriting before you turned to writing fiction. Did you write plays? I mean, does the vividness of the voice come from your work in the theater?
I think it did somewhat come from theater because, when you're writing a play and you're telling a story, the only thing you have to tell that story with is character's dialogue. That's it. I mean, you don't get to write description. I mean, you do, but if you do, chances are the director's not going to use it or the actors either. So you tell it for who these characters are and the way they speak, and that's all you've got to go through. So yeah, I think in terms of that, it did probably help, because it's interesting that I seemingly always write in first person, and the book I'm working on now is in third person, and I do not find that nearly as natural or easy to write in third person. So I did probably come from playwriting.
You've succeeded. And then some with your first person narrative. Now, there are so many issues in this book that will just leap out to any reader with a small sense of social justice. Girl is innocent enough that she does not have to give them names. She simply has to experience the life that as it comes to her. She has so little to compare anything to. But even so, she seems to me to have a growing sense that evil is real. And she does not continue to accept the outrages that Chuck is perpetrating on her and the rest of the world. All the issues arise as facts of life, which is such an interesting way to include them. You don't come at it as a moralist, but it becomes so clear.
It's just everyday life.
That seeing them in a sense as so routine makes them all the more hateful. So it's very interesting. How long did it take you to write this novel? I know that you were a school teacher, which is little time for anything. So quite an achievement to write a novel at all.
Probably. I'm going to say, because it was kind of weird and I kind of stopped at one point, but I'm going to say from start to finish, total draft, 3 to 4 years, which is kind of long, but for some, but not really for some. So, it is what it is. I mean, I don't know. The second one feels like it's going to go faster, but we'll see.
Do your students know that you're a writer?
They don't care. No, some of them do, some of them don't, and I had a former student at the reading today, and I think she delighted in every time I said a piece of profanity that was in the book. That is one thing that I find it interesting that I've had to deal with, because in writing this book, I was mainly workshopping it with other writers. And so you're kind of in this safe arts community, and you don't think about things such as, I might offend someone with, language. And so since it's come out, I had to ask myself, would I have done it any differently? And I don't think I would, because there is something that I really believe strongly in, the whole idea of verisimilitude. You've got to remain truthful to these characters. And these characters are not really nice people. And, Tracy gets woken up by smoke and fire, and, she says what she says, and she's not going to say, oh, golly gee, what are you doing? Because, she loves her pot, and she loves her booze, and she's perpetually hungover, so that it is what it is, And I do think that I will offend some people, but you know, life's offensive, so
Exactly, they would be
Yeah.
offended
Yeah.
by life. This is what happens. I don't think your students would
no,
cause to be
they
offended by
they
it,
would
but
delight in it. Yeah.
They're, well, as you've made girl, she's the truth teller.
Yeah,
because
she is.
She experiences life very directly and makes the most she can out of it. She uses her brains, she uses her experience, and digests those to determine what she'll do next. I am really, really caught up by the magic of everything you write.
Good.
Can't wait to see it.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been fun.
It's always fun. Thank you very much, Rhonda.
You're welcome.